Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Two halachas that I wanted to discuss today, Be'ez Hashem. First of all, I'd like to welcome back Elimelech Katz back to this measures. Baruch Hashem. As we always say, they always come home. They always come home. As much as we try to, they just come back. We can't. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. So let's see the guys. So the might say there's two halachas that I wanted to discuss today that are Nageya for Shavuos, specifically this year as well. Haba Aleinu L'Tova. The first one is a little bit of Hilchos Yontov. Now, to go through all of Hilchos Yontov in a 20-minute share is just like completely not Nageya. To go through Hilchos Shabbos in a 20-minute share is not Nageya. Therefore, I'm just going to skim over a couple of ideas, just to give the Olam something to think about, something to talk about, something just maybe to know, just to remind the Olam about a little bit of Hilchos Yontov. Now, the Chinuch tells us like this. The Chinuch says, why is it that there's also to do malacha on Yontov? Why? Well, I want to cook, I want to do certain things. Why is malacha forbidden? Which we know it is. The Pasuk tells us very clearly, Shemosh Beis, Kol malacha lo ya'asa bahem. Talking about the Yomim Tovim, you cannot do malacha on Yontov. And the shayla is why? Why can't I do malacha on Yontov? Zog the Heilige Chinuch. Two reasons. Okay? Very important. Reason number one that you cannot do malacha on Yontov is because we want people to be free so that they'll be able to have the time to contemplate, to think, and internalize the nisim that the Rabbeinu Shalom performed for us on that specific Yontov. And if therefore if malacha was allowed to be done, people would be running around doing all sorts of things that they do during the week. They're not going to have time. Therefore, they asad malacha specifically so that people would have time to contemplate and think about the Gavaldik Nisim. Of course, in this case, we're talking about Maimid of Sinai, we're talking about Kabbalah Satorah, we're talking about all the Gavaldik things that go on the Yom Tov of Shavuos. So that's the reason number one, Zog the Heilige Chinuch. The second reason is that to be Isaac in Torah. Simple, like we know the Yerushalmi tells us, Cholamoid. What was the whole purpose of a Cholamoid? No, it was not to give Parnasa to Six Flags. It was simply that you should be able to have time to sit and learn. That's what Cholamoid is for, by the way. The whole Yisod of Cholamoid, just to be able to sit and learn. So it comes to Yom Tov, same thing. Chazal wanted us, the Torah wanted us to be able to have the time to sit and learn, and therefore if malacha was mutter, we'd be running around doing things like a Wednesday afternoon. Therefore they asked in malacha. So we have two reasons that the Chinuch tells us, of course there are many other reasons as well, why malacha is problematic. That being the case, we have a shayla, because we know that on Yom Tov there are certain things that are more mekel, more permitted than on Shabbos. For example, we all know, just to take a random example, boira on Shabbos would mean that to take a tea bag and to lift a tea bag out of the tea would be an issa da'oraisa of boira. For that we kill someone. We just simply kill him for that on Shabbos. On Yom Tov, that same act is mutter. You're allowed to do that, but malacha is asa. So without going into too many details, and the machloikas and the Gemara and Rishonim and how we paskin, just to give a very, very clear, simple idea. That the Torah said a simple idea. Quoting the passage that we just said before. It says, Kol malacha lo ya'asa bahem, asher ye'ochel l'chol nefeshu levada ya'asa lochem. That means, and we learn from there, that any oichel nefesh, anything that is considered to be, I don't know, how do you translate oichel nefesh? No. Good. How would Art Scroll translate oichel nefesh?
Eating salt.
Okay, anybody?
Something that's food.
Is it only food?
Yes, only food.
Oichel nefesh. Meaning a bodily need. Zev says it's a bodily need. Okay, I hear that. Oichel nefesh, something that you need. Okay, so they allowed that. So does that mean that I'm allowed to go along and cook and do shchita and do boire and do toichin and do lash and do whatever I want? As long as it's for food. I can switch on the light on Yom Tov, chas v'shalom, just because it's for food. No, I'd rather not. That they didn't ask for everything. And the reason for that is, and we're going to, again, to go through all the details here, anyone that ever went through Hilchos Yontov will know that in one way it's actually even harder than Shabbos. For the reason because you have to differentiate between when is it mutter. On Shabbos, boira is asa. We have to figure out what boira is and how it applies. Boira is asa. On Yom Tov, boira could be mutter, but which type of boira? Right? Which mahalach, depends when. Could it have been done before Yom Tov, from? It's hard. So the idea, again, not to give it confusing, I just want to bring out some points. That on Yom Tov, oichel nefesh is mutter, but it has to be shava l'chol nefesh. Okay? Just to give you one example, it's not Nageya, it's mamish not Nageya, Posha not Nageya, but This is mamish not negaya. But let's say I have a guy that like weird. He wants to have a shower on Yom Tov, right? Especially not negaya. But let's say I'm just taking a random example, like whatever, and he wants to have a shower on Yom Tov. So the heating up of the water, put it on the dud. Obviously not putting on the dud electrically because that's electric, but let's say putting on the water causes the fire to go on or causes the cold water to replenish and become hot again by the hot water in the tank. Different mahalchim of how they make hot water or whatever in your house, in your system, in the building. But the basic idea is that am I allowed to do that? Because I'm doing bishul, I'm cooking water, and I'm doing it for a bodily need, right? It's a physical need. It's not literally food, but it's a physical need. So, Eichel Nefesh is mutter on Yom Tov. The problem is it has to be Shavel Eichel Nefesh. Shavel Eichel Nefesh means it has to be equal for everyone. Everyone has to do this and want to do this and it to be normal to be done on a daily basis, right? The Shulchan Aruch, and you can look this up if you don't believe me, in Simon Tov Kuf Yud Aleph, says quite simply that it's not Dover Shavel Eichel Nefesh to have a shower with hot water on Yom Tov. That's what it is. Nowadays, yeah, maybe, could be. None of the poskim ripped that Shulchan Aruch out yet and took it out and said this one's not Negeya. So as far as we know, it is not Shavel Eichel Nefesh. This is, by the way, the smoking shaila. I'm not going into this because I don't know, but that's the shaila. Having a shower would be the same shaila, right? Is it Shavel Eichel Nefesh? So just to go very quickly into a couple of different ideas of Hilchos Yom Tov. So, for example, something that could have been done before Yom Tov and would have accomplished the same result would be a problem to do on Yom Tov. If you could do something before Yom Tov and it wouldn't change the taste, then you're not allowed to do it on Yom Tov, excluding something that it would change. I'll give you an example. Peeling. To peel a potato, imagine peeling a potato 2 days before Yom Tov and using it on Yom Tov. It's not going to have the same freshness. It's going to go brown, it's not fresh, it's not going to. It needs to be done on Yom Tov. So something that needs to be done on Yom Tov and is normally done in small quantities for sure, there is a mokum to be making in that case. So for example, peeling in that case will be mutter on Yom Tov. To use a peeler on Yom Tov will be mutter. Or for example, to take a perforated spoon, right, and you dip it into the the coleslaw, the cucumber salad. Now on Shabbos that would be a problem of boira because you've got a problem with separating the juice and the food. On Yom Tov that would be mutter. It would be mutter, as we said before, to take a tea bag out of these out of a tea on Shabbos on Yom Tov, or a bone in a fish on Shabbos, taking the bone out of the fish, I'm doing boira specifically because the olam know boira well, then that will be a problem on Shabbos, but on Yom Tov, that will be mutter because I could not have done that before Yom Tov. I couldn't have taken out the bone of the salmon before Yom Tov. It's something you could do ala makam in small quantities, and that's why that's going to be mutter in that case. Now, there are many other examples, right? Making a brand new filer is a shayla of noilad, says the Taz, which means, noilad means a brand new creation. You cannot create a new fire, but you can transfer from fire to fire, as we know, which again has to be very carefully done by putting the match actually in the fire, not on top of the fire, says Reb Shlomo Zalman, to be careful in that case. Kiboy, extinguishing a fire, also got to be very, very careful. You cannot extinguish a fire on Shabbos, on Yom Tov again, because you're doing something that's not necessarily l'tzorech oichel nefesh, but again, Moshe says that if you're burning the food, then maybe there's a mokim to be mekel and do it in that case. So Rabbi said there's a tremendous amount of different shilas that come up when it comes to Hilchos Yom Tov. It's impossible to go through all of them, but recognize that some things are mutter. It doesn't mean everything is mutter. It doesn't mean all of Hilchos Yom Tov becomes mutter. You could do everything that you can't do on Shabbos. You cannot. But there are certain exceptions. Impossible to go through all of them at this moment of time. One last sugya in Yom Tov is, of course, the mitzvah of Simchas Yom Tov, right? Apart from being a Gevaldige song, it's also a pasuk of the Torah, Vayisach Sameach. That is an inyan for a person for Samachta B'Chagecha, to be B'Simcha. The Vilna Gaon held it was the hardest of all Taryag mitzvahs. Imagine? Vilna Gaon. The hardest of the Taryag mitzvahs is the mitzvah to be B'Simcha on Yom Tov. Why? Because you're going to be Tomid, constantly B'Simcha. There should be no moment of tsar, no moment of anguish or pain or anything like that. And if you do get it, get rid of it immediately. So, Simchas Yom Tov is a Gevaldige Zach, and a person should try to be B'Simcha as much as he can. It's much easier on Shavuos, simply because you're being Mekabel the Torah. So like, what greater Simcha can a Yid have at being Mekabel the Torah? It's like, this is it. We have life, we have instruction book, we have the Rabbeinu Shalom, and we have the Rabbeinu Shalom's word. It's unbelievable, Rabbi Isaac. Let's move on. Yes?
If a Sfardi person turns on the dud, like second day Yom Tov, could kind of benefit
So second day Yom Tov Shailas I was going to discuss, but this year Baruch Hashem the Rebbeinu Shalom gave me a massive chesed to yeshiva, and there is no second day Yom Tov that is mutter like in a regular year because it's Shabbos Kodesh. So this year there is no nafkamina between Shabbat second day and first day. That might say in a regular year there are Shailas that we'll have to talk about at different times.
Stuff only applies here, not Switzerland.
I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, but this year there's a round bottom.
Again, this year the second day is Shabbos. So it doesn't really make enough kamina how many days you keep, because Shabbos is more common than Yom Tov anyway.
No, I was talking keeping the 12. It says only if you're coming there to 12, you have to keep Torah and mitzvahs.
Okay. Fine. We'll discuss. If the dud is off, I don't want to go down to boilers, but even if the dud is off, the hot water tank, heat rises, right? So the top of the tank is hot. When you use hot water, there are two pipes, like one going out. So you've got the hot water that comes out, the next cold water goes in to replenish the water that came out. That water goes immediately and becomes hot. So the mitzias is you're cooking when you take out the hot water, even if the dud is off, which means you are cooking. If there's a way of switching off the entrance, in other words, no more cold water to go in, then there could be a mokum to be made, apart from the fact of washing with hot water that was heated up before Yom Tov, which I don't want to go in down at this moment of time. You look it up, Tov Kufiyad Aleph, you look up all the sugars over there. I told you it's not a gear anyway, because no one does this. What? Sink, for washing dishes. That's Shavuot L'chol Nefesh. To wash up dishes is a normal thing. I need to have clean dishes to eat. That's a normal thing to do. Everybody does that. That's why you're... Oh, so there's a shayla if I can switch on the water for washing up dishes, and while it's on, Zev knows the mahalach. Let's move on, Rabbi Yisai. Okay? One last... again, like I said, it's not shayach to go through everything we need to go through in one share. I just want to be... Just bring it to the surface that these things exist. The next shayla, which is Nageya, this year specifically, is the sugya of Eiruv Tavshilin, which is Nageya to everyone. And the reason for that is because preparing is a big problem. Now, in a regular year, a regular Yom Tov, whenever you have 2 days, you have a very similar shayla, that you're not allowed, as an Issa, to prepare from one day Yom Tov to the next day Yom Tov. So, for example, you cannot set the table on Yom Tov afternoon for that night's Suda, because you're preparing for the night. The night is the next day. Or cleaning up, or washing the dishes, or preparing the clothing. Whatever you may be doing, from Yom Tov to Yom Tov, day to day, is problematic. Here, we have a much more chomer shayla, and that is Erev Yom Tov. Yom Tov itself is Erev Shabbos Kodesh, which means this year Erev Shabbos is Yom Tov. So normally, I will do all of the preparations for Shabbos and Erev Shabbos, but now it's Yom Tov, and I have a problem. Okay? The Mishnah in Beitza Tezvav tells us clearly that when Yom Tov is an Erev Shabbos, you have a problem. You cannot prepare on Yom Tov for Shabbos. So now I have an issue. How am I heating up food? How am I making my cholent? How is a woman lighting candles, hadlakas haneirus, which obviously has to be done before Shabbos, but that's Yom Tov, and lighting them on Yom Tov means you're preparing for Shabbos. How can a Yid go to mikvah on Erev Shabbos when it's Yom Tov? You're preparing for Shabbos. There are many different shaylas. A bocher told me that he's walking an hour and a half, whatever it is, on Yom Tov afternoon. He's going to stay somewhere for Shabbos. Beautiful, wonderful. He's going to have a moedek Shabbos Kodesh. But one second, is he taking anything with him? Yeah. He's taking a bag of clothing, pajamas, I don't know, probably full of svarim. So how is he doing that on Yom Tov if he's preparing for Shabbos? Right? So that's really the shayla. So the answer, obviously, to all of these shaylas is an Erev Tavshilin. An Erev Tavshilin, now, again, to go through all of Hilchos Erev Tavshilin is not possible to do that. But I did cheat, and I cheated. Sorry, I cheated. And I'm going to give you a couple of just points that it's very important. How does it work? We're not going to discuss, because be'etzim it's an issa d'oraisa for a person to go along and prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbos. How can Chazal come along and say, Chazal says if you make an Erev Tavshilin, now you could prepare. 1 second, preparing is an issa d'oraisa. What, you're telling me the rabbis come along and master a d'oraisa? It can't be. How can I make an Erev Tavshilin if it's also d'oraisa to do something like that? Right? So this is already a machlokes Rabban, Reb Chesed, the Gemara and Beitza that we're not going to go into at this moment of time to explain how really it's a d'Rabbanan, and if it's a d'Rabbanan, Mamei the Erev Tavshilin works. Now, who needs an Erev Tavshilin? So pashtus, anyone that is planning to do any type of malacha. If you're planning to put on a cholent, for example, on Erev Shabbos, you need Erev Tavshilin. If you're planning to light Shabbos candles, then also you need an Erev Tavshilin. If you're planning on carrying something or preparing something or doing anything for the Shabbos Kodesh, which I'm sure the Olim will be doing, you need an Erev Tavshilin. So, Lamaisa, how does it work, for example, for a Bachar Yeshiva? Does a Bachar Yeshiva require his own Erev Tavshilin, or is it enough that the Yeshiva makes an Erev Tavshilin? Lamaisa, Rav Elyashiv held that every Bachar should really make his own Erev Tavshilin with his own food, but Halacha Lamaisa, Rav Nifsek Hareletz Paskin, and that's what we do over here in the Yeshiva, is that the Yeshiva makes, I'll be making for the Olam, Erev Tavshilin to cover everyone, so all of you will be covered with an Erev Tavshilin, which will mean that once you have an Erev Tavshilin, you will be allowed to do all sorts of food preparation, like preparing food, heating up food, which is mutter on Yom Tov. You're allowed to heat up food, but the problem is, of course, preparing it for Shabbos, which is obviously going to be problematic. With an Erev Tavshilin, that will be mutter. Lighting candles for a woman or for a boy, that's in a diro. You're staying somewhere, and you need to light candles. By the way, surprise, surprise, Hadlakas Haneros, it's not just for a married woman. Unbelievable. Right? A girl one time sent in a shaila, I'm getting married in a few weeks, do I need to make a shechiyanu on lighting candles? So I said, no. Yeah, but it's the first time I'm doing the mitzvah. I said, no, it's not. You've done it every single week of your life since your bas mitzvah, because your mother did it for you in the home. It's not a dafka on you, it's on every single person of you. When you're staying somewhere, if you're in a dira, if you're doing something, you have to light candles. Erev Tavshilin is going to help the dira guys, yes. Again, if you want to be machma, make your own Erev Tavshilin, take a matzah, take an egg, use it for shalish the maral, moyudik. Al kaponim, the mikvah, however, mikvah doesn't even require an Erev Tavshilin, by the way. You don't have to worry. Going to mikvah on Erev Shabbos Kodesh, which is Yom Tov, you don't even need Erev Tavshilin. Why? It's a double poshet ad moed. I know that I'm doing it for Shabbos, but I get the Kedusha right now. When I'm in the mikvah, I'm getting the Kedusha now. That's already on Yom Tov. So I'm doing it for Shabbos. Beseda, Akaponim, that's the Indian over there. Rabbi say, impossible, as I said, to go through everything. I just wanted to mention some of the Ikashailas to bring to the surface that these things exist. And the Mitzvah Hashem, we should be Zocha Be'ezaz Hashem Yisbarach, to be Makabal the Torah here in this space of Medrash. The Rabbi Shem should give us Simchas Yom Tov, Avas Torah, Yiras Shamayim. Have a beautiful Yom Tov.